Many thanks for joining us here on News Today. Let's start off with the very first story. And residents of Porto in the Bonohafu region are fleeing the town following renewed chieftaincy disputes there. Joy News has gathered there's been sporadic shooting in the town since 8 a.m. today following the return of a kinsman of one faction, which we understand triggered the shooting by some angry youth in the town. Now, 3 houses are also said to have been burnt following the violence, with police struggling to maintain calm. We'll be joining our correspondent on this bit, Anna Sabed, pretty shortly. As and when we do have him, we'll bring that particular story to you. But away from that story now, let's move on to the next story, which has to do with the aspiring National Democratic Congress Member of Parliament for Shayo Sudoku, who has died following an accident last night. William Oklu was one of 2 drivers who died when a GMC 4Runner that he, the aspiring legislator, was driving collided with a minibus. It happened at Atani close to Jaso on the Kumasi Accra Road last night at about 8 p.m. Jaso District Police Commander DSP Samuel Latebu has been telling me more about the accident on News Desk.
Yesterday around 7:30, between 7:30 p.m. to 8, I recall that there was an accident between Jaso and Atani in the Asante Ashim South District. So we quickly mobilized our men, we rushed to the scene and found out that a GMC carrying 4x4 being driven by the late Okulu William Desmond, who is the aspirant for MP for the Shia Sudoku, was also involved in this plus. Another Hyundai van, which both drivers perished in the accident. They had a head-on collision and both drivers perished in the. About the casualties, it was the aspirant and then the mini van, the Hyundai van driver. But there was another man-desired trailer, which was when the accident happened, one of the vehicles, the minivan veered off, and when they hit the man-desired, so some of the tires got burst, and the rims also, some of them got mangled. But the driver of that man-desired truck was unhurt. He escaped unhurt.
This accident was as a result of one person trying to overtake someone, and in the end, it resulted in this particular incident. Is that really what happened? It's a sharp seeker. Okay. And according to the man-desired driver, there was some overtaking taking place, but by whom I cannot confirm. But actually, it was an overtaking that was taking place in the cave that brought about the accident. Now, former board chair of Unilever Ghana and private business consultant Ishmael Yamson says the only way to enable industries to thrive in Ghana is commitment to the implementation of a clear policy direction by government. Mr. Yamson, who appears deeply troubled about the state of affairs of local businesses particularly, believes the absence of a clear policy direction is largely to blame for the shutdown of many indigenous companies. Now, he suggests the need for government to do more in saving the sector from total collapse. He was speaking on the special edition of the AM show today with Roland Walker.
For me, our current situation saddens my heart a lot. Because if I look back to 1966, when I came out of university with a lot of hope, I look at Ghana then, even with all the difficulties that the country faced at the time, and today, and the journey that we have traveled, it's quite a worrying situation. I think 2 things stand out. First, policy inconsistency. Right from 1966 to today, what has underlined the performance of industry, and I mean manufacturing, services, the extractive sector, mining and whatever, is policy inconsistency. And linked to that is uncertainty. Industry, whether it is in the private sector or the public sector, is allergic to uncertainty. And yet there's so much uncertainty in our history that makes everybody sit and question whether really we can make it. Because if you look at the policy direction, if you move from one era to another, I mean up to 66, from 66 to 84, when we went through a whole lot of political instability. And on the average, about every 22 months, we change government in this country over that period. So there has been no clarity of direction in what we want to do as a country. When in 1984 we launched the Economic Recovery Program, followed by the Structural Adjustment Program, the whole idea was that by the time the program was over, Ghana would be in a situation to take off again. By 1990, it was quite clear that we were going nowhere.
Well, going wayward?
We were going nowhere. And indeed, we were going wayward. So the World Bank and the Ghana government commissioned a study, Ghana towards a dynamic investment strategy. And at the time, 26 key issues were identified as hindering the progress of industry. As we sit here today, if you read that document, you will think about, you would think that you are reading about Ghana today. And this was 1990. And all the issues that were identified, apart from political stability, every one of them still exists as we sit here. So Evans, for me, I think what we need is a clear direction of where we want to go with the industry. What we need is then ruthless policy implementation and a commitment that that policy should succeed and is very fundamental. Unless we do that, and I can tell you that in the last 3-4 years, we lost a lot of companies. Many companies have just shut down because we knew, as a country, we knew 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years back that we were running into a huge energy gap. So why do we have to wait and panic and just sit and watch industries collapse before we act?
Now, there were long winding queues in the central regional capital, Cape Coast, as hundreds cast their ballots on key issues they believe will influence their votes in this year's elections. Now, the exercise is part of the groundbreaking Joy News election program dubbed the Ballot Box. The maiden edition comes to you today from the campus of the University of Cape Coast, from where Evans Mensah, host of the Ballot Box and head of our political desk, joins me now over the telephone with a lot more on what to expect today. So Evans, tell us about the concept of the Ballot Box and how residents of Cape Coast have been reacting to it so far.
Okay, so thank you very much. The Ballot Box concept is just an innovative way of trying to simulate what will happen on November 7th, but this time we are not voting for individuals. We are balloting the issues, encouraging people to tell us, using a ballot box, what issues will influence who they vote for on November 7th. So to break it down even further, you simply approach a ballot box, which is seated on a desk. You take a ballot paper, you write on it what issues will influence who you vote for, and you drop it into the ballot box. We will now sort that out and cluster the main issues and then bring the candidates to come and address the concerns. How will they deal with these key issues if they get elected? That's what the concept is about. It's also designed to whip up public interest in the general elections this year. And we've seen even here in Cape Coast, since we put it up, that people are enthusiastic about casting their ballots. And this is sort of giving them the indication that it can be part of the process, that they shouldn't just wait until November 7th to go and choose their electorate without first having to interrogate what they stand for and what they will do for them. And this opportunity that has been afforded them to now tell the people who will be vying for their votes what matters to them is absolutely important, and they are participating in their numbers. You've seen the pictures on social media. Yes,
indeed, we have. Now, I need to ask, what time really does today's program start, and what is to be expected, really?
start at 5:30 sharp and we end at 7. We'll take a brief break, though, at 45. And it will be live. We have the Central Regional Minister, who is the MP for Cape Coast South, will be present. Kukuru Ketega will be here. The MPP candidates, the CPP candidates, the PPP candidates will all be present here to engage on the issues. We've just been doing the sorting of the issues, and some of the key things coming up, for example, power. The economy is dominating, for example. Issues of education and employment are also dominating. And so it's going to be an exciting time tonight. It's never been done before. We're a bit nervous, but we're pretty sure that once the kick starts and the people are here, they will take over the show and run it and engage their candidates. Certainly. But Evans, there's one last thing I need to ask from you. I know the team has also been doing something on the sugar project since getting to Cape Coast. Tell us much more about that as well. Well, it's been exciting, I must tell you. Yesterday, I was absolutely fascinated by what happened in Bremen, where, Kojo and his team put together doctors and volunteers and went into this far-flung community, cut away from the rest of the capital, and gave them free diabetes screening. They also gave them, blood pressure, screening also to tell them what their blood pressure is exactly. That was very exciting. People came in numbers, the old, the young, the, men, women showed up to participate. And, of course, they got advice on what to do if they found that they have diabetes. They got referrals to hospitals, and the follow-ups will be done. As I speak to you right now, Kojo and his team are in Mori right now, doing a similar thing. That is in a whole crew there, giving them free screening. It's been exciting, and the response has been fantastic. We just left the Chief's Palace in Cape Coast, and he was enthusiastic about this, and he lent us his support. Right, Evans, many thanks for that update, and we are looking forward to the maiden edition of the ballot box here on Joy News. And be reminded that indeed that particular program is on Joy FM, your super station, from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. But let's go back to Porto, where that particular story I brought to you from Porto in the Bono Afro region, where we are told that there's been some sporadic gunshots there, quite a number of issues there pertaining to a chieftaincy dispute. Let's go into the phone lines and speak to correspondent Anas Sabi, who has a lot more and is joining me now over the telephone line. So, Anas, tell us much more about this incident in Porto. What have you gathered so far?
Well, it's been a chieftaincy issue, a long chieftaincy dispute between two factions, both Gunjes by tribe. But it's been existing, and one of the chiefs has to leave the township for a while now, and he returned recently. And the youth, from one faction, believe they do not or are calling for his departure once again, because they are saying his departure brought peace to the township, and he's coming back is going to ensure that there's violence once again. So we are and this morning they went, out and then shot, some gunshots there, and then burnt 3 houses in this particular, issue. So that's what we can tell you for now relating to this particular violence. It's been
so I'm just trying to see whether I understand what you're saying clearly, that this gentleman, a kinsman, who returned to the town, the return of this man provoked the youth such that they went on rampage and began shooting. Is that the case?
Exactly, that's the case. They are saying that they do not need him in the township, so they are calling for his departure. We've been informed that the police are on the ground maintaining peace there, and from the ground the peace has returned, or there's calm in the township with the presence of the police. So
there's calm now as we speak?
Yes, there's calm in the township.
Right. Anas Abid, many thanks for that update. We'll be coming back to you shortly for a lot more. Many thanks for that update. And that was correspondent Anas Abid bringing us a lot more from Porto in the Bono Afro region, where we are told that there's been some violence in the town over some chieftaincy disputes there. You're watching News Today here on your Joy News channel, Multi TV. We're taking a break. We'll return shortly with some more stories. Don't go away. Many thanks for staying with us here on News Today to some more stories. Now, former youth organizer of the People's National Convention, Abu Ramadan, has dismissed suggestions, a decision by the Supreme Court to throw out a suit that sought to prevent the Electoral Commission from conducting a by-election in the Bokon North constituency is an indication of a pending suit on the credibility of the country's electoral role for this year's elections. Abu Ramadan wanted the elections suspended until the determination of a substantive case in which the validity of the voters' register is being challenged. Now, he however maintains that though the ruling is a blow, it has no direct bearing on the outcome of the substantive issue currently before the courts.
The court came as a victory for us, considering that this is just a subsidiary matter that would have led to a substantive matter before the court. And the decision of the court was envisaged. But what we didn't envisage was the fact that the court didn't give reason for refusing the application. But notwithstanding that, the pronouncements of the court after the refusal application, those pronouncements were big and very revealing. And we were excited with just those pronouncements alone. That is what lifted our spirits, because those pronouncements goes to speak to the core of the issue that was laid before the court in the substantive matter. That one goes to speak to the core of the issues. In the substantive matter, we've asked the court to either cancel and call for a new voters register, to allow us to go through a validation process where we're going to validate all the 4 million registered voters in 2012, including those who registered during the limited registration in 2015, including those who registered in 2016 during this upcoming current limited registration exercise. The entire combination of all these 3 major registration exercises put together, we need to validate each and every single person who finds his name on the register and come out with a more credible and a more transparent voters register to give us peace after the 2016 election. And I think the court's pronouncement after that, and the court's decision not to have made it an order of the court, but rather to see whether the Electoral Commission is willing to show good faith in sitting down with we, the applicants and stakeholders, to look at the way out. We are excited by that bit of the court.
I see. So you don't think this is in any way going to affect the main case? I mean, some are already suggesting that, well, this is a clear indication of what we should expect in the coming days. You don't agree with those assertions?
Anybody who tells you this is a clear indication of what should come in the subsequent substantive matter, the person, I was to say, the person really doesn't understand law, and the person doesn't understand, or the person is not privy to happenings at the GSM. And the court, you see, the issue is the court, in this decision to decide to refuse to grant the application. The application for injunction doesn't speak to the heart of the matter. All we asked the court was the court should store or stay the Electoral Commission and prevent them from carrying out a registration whatsoever, or a vote or any election whatsoever, so that the substantive matter would be heard and concluded upon, so that when the court gives a ruling, after the ruling, then the Electoral Commission can proceed and carry out these activities. The reason why we went to demand or to ask for this injunction was because, if you remember, in 2014, the case was filed before the Supreme Court to challenge the use of the health insurance. During the
Let's stay with politics, this time around with the opposition NPP, and the party is actually daring government to arrest its flag bearer Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo over allegations he caused judgment debt in the drill ship controversy. Now, the party is meanwhile accusing Supreme Court Judge Justice Apple of securing his appointment as a reward for doing the bidding of government. Let's get onto the phone lines now and speak to Kwachia Ferinema, who has been at a media briefing organized by the party and is now joining me with a lot more. So, Alfred, tell us much more about what the party has been saying, particularly as pertains to the arrest of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, if I should put it that way. Alfred, if you can hear me, I'm asking of what the party has been saying at this media briefing. Right. So clearly, my colleague Kwacha Fenyama cannot hear me. We'll try and raise him back on the line. Once we do, we'll bring that story back to you. But away from that, and Country Director for UNAIDS, Girmay Haile, has applauded Ghana's preparedness in tackling certain diseases plaguing the African continent, among which is Ebola and HIV/AIDS. Mr. Haile, however, believes a lot more needs to be done in the area of social interventions, such as more education and awareness creation among the population to effectively deal with any possible outbreak or new infections. He has been speaking to me on News Desk ahead of one of such awareness creation programs at Jamestown, spearheaded by an NGO, Paddy's.
When we look at the National Preparedness Plan for Ebola in Ghana, we see that the health sector has prepared very well, that the health sector response will be effective should we be confronted with any incidents. But the social defense has not yet been built. And epidemics usually don't happen in hospital wards. They happen among communities. Mm-hmm. So empowering communities well in advance of whatever may come in terms of information is a very, very important and also a very opportune time for us to also do that. Imagine if we don't do anything about it and we're sitting here and then all of a sudden this thing strikes. It will be quite a disaster. Mm-hmm. The health sector will try, but then they're only reacting to what's happening instead of a defense line, to prevent this whole thing from happening. So I think that is important thing to take notice of. And second thing is on the Paddy's plan, I think this is an excellent partnership that they have built. There is quite a number of other partners also involved in this. And hopefully this is a good beginning also in targeting strategic communities where there is high burden. And then on the HIV finally, you know that in Ghana we have done very well in terms of the HIV national response. New infections are on the decline, generally speaking. And in most of the high-risk populations, especially, they're really coming down. But there is one population that is not showing any difference, and maybe even there could be even an increase. And this is the urban, middle-class, professional students, people like you, people like who are in the universities and upper middle-class people. These are people who are not talking enough about HIV. These are people who are not talking enough about condom use and protection.
But these are people we assume know the risks.
Yes.
They know better.
See, knowing does not necessarily mean you're empowered.
Indeed.
Yeah, because there is an overload of information everywhere. Mm-hmm. And this is precisely why also we partner with celebrities, because we want to contextualize the message so that it is an empowering message.
Back to that political story, I'm speaking of that issue with the NPP, who are daring the ruling NDC to arrest their party flag bearer, that's Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, for what they say suggests that Mr. Akufo-Addo actually caused a judgment debt. Kwacha Fenyama was at this media briefing and is joining me on phone now with a lot more. So, Alfred, tell us much more about what the NPP has been saying as pertains this judgment debt issue of the drill ship.
Well, the party says that there is a deliberate strategy to paint Nana Akufo-Addo black ahead of the general election. As you may recall, Johnson Siedu-Nketia, General Secretary of the NDC, had accused the three-time flag bearer of being largely responsible for the GMPC drill ship saga. But the acting General Secretary of the NPP, John Bwedu, says that if government believes Nanado did anything wrong, they should simply go ahead and arrest him. And now another key issue they raised, as you mentioned, is that Justice Apao who was recently appointed as Supreme Court judge. That point was simply because he was being rewarded for indicting Nanado in this judgment that drill ship saga. Anthony Abai-Fakabo is a Deputy Communications Director of the party. Mr. Kabo, this is a rather serious allegation.
I mean, my brother, when you say it's a serious allegation, I can understand it because, this is a man who was put in place to investigate judgment deaths in this country, one of the most important, that involved one of the NDC's biggest political opponent, Nana Akufo-Addo. The man indicated to them that I am prepared to appear before the commission to give the evidence so that we can unravel the truth. The commissioner ignored Akufo-Addo's letter, only to go ahead and bring Chatuchi Kata to explain his version of it.
and then write a report indicting Akufo-Addo and saying that he caused financial loss to the state. And a few days after, you get appointed to the Supreme Court. What else could it be?
But that's simply conjecture, isn't it, many would think? What's the proof?
It can be conjecture. Akufo-Addo indicated that this is against the rules of natural justice. You cannot just say somebody has caused financial loss to the state and without listening to the person, especially when the person even indicates to you that he's prepared to appear before you. All that was ignored. And this is the result of the work of Justice Apau that has suddenly given the NDC and Johnson Asiedun Ketia a weapon and to use against Akufo-Addo, forgetting that he never even appeared before the commission. None of his side of the story was ever heard. Then all of a sudden, the president appoints this man to the Supreme Court. What else do you think people will say?
All right, so that was Deputy Communications Director of the MPP, Anthony Abaifa Cabo there.
Afra, has there been any reaction from the NDC following this particular claim by the opposition NPP?
Not yet, Chenchen.
Right. Afra, many thanks for that update. And that was Kwacha Freedom of our political desk, bringing us a lot more from that media briefing by the opposition New Patriotic Party. We're taking a break here on News Today. When we come back, we'll bring you business with John Amwakon. And now time for some business. And Barclays Bank Ghana is insisting that there will not be any job cuts in the country, despite moves by Barclays UK to get out of Africa. Barclays PLC earlier this week confirmed that it's working to reduce its 62.3% stake in Africa. This has resulted in speculations that the action could result in some serious layoffs across countries that Barclays operates. But speaking to Joy Business, Managing Director of Barclays Ghana, Patience Achienu, says no cause for alarm, insisting that customers' deposits are safe.
The decision to sell down is not because of the performance of Africa or a change in the strategic direction. Indeed, Jess Staley, the CEO for Barclays PLC, commended the quality of the management team and staff of Barclays, as well as the success of our strategy so far. This decision resulted from new regulatory burdens that were imposed on Barclays PLC. And therefore, as part of a big group like Barclays Africa, which is well capitalized and highly liquid, there is no cause for our customers here in Ghana to be concerned about their deposits. We are also very liquid and regulated by Central Bank, which ensures that our business remains sound. Our future in Ghana is very bright, and our strategy remains unchanged. I'd like to assure all Ghanaians, especially our cherished customers, that in view of the announcement by PLC, nothing will change in our dealings with them. The Barclays Africa strategy is on course. This has not changed with the announcement. Barclays Ghana is a profitable, well-capitalized, highly liquid business. We need colleagues in Ghana to execute our strategy, and therefore this announcement will not lead to us letting go of our staff.
MD Barclays Ghana and Tullow Oil has ruled out any immediate plans of cutting down its workforce following the recent decline in crude oil prices. The oil exploration firm last year laid off about 70 workers because of the fall in oil prices, which resulted in a loss of over $1 billion. The managing director of Tullow Oil Ghana, Charles Darko, has however allayed the fears of workers who may be worried about another possible layoffs because of current challenges with oil prices.
At this point, we're not looking at that, but the situation changes. We don't know where the price is going to bottom out at the end of the year. If things become different, we would always reset our business model to suit the times. But at this point in time, we're not looking at that.
We've had Shell, we had other big firms laying off because of what is happening. And for some people, it's quite assuring that you're seeing that as we speak right now, nothing is on the table.
As any business, looking at efficiency, cost cutting, but we're not looking at headcounts at this time.
And some are saying that the prices are even picking up. Is that something that you are excited by that?
We're, of course, thankful that the price is picking up. We are looking for more of an upturn in the prices, but we're ready for, any difficult time.
And that will be it for business. But for more, you can join me at exactly 1 to 1:30 on the marketplace. My name is John Kojo Amwako. Please stay. And that's how we wrap up on news today here on your Joy News channel on Multi TV. My name is Kwabena Chenche Heneboas. Remember, there's a lot more news when you visit myjoyonline.com. John Kojo Makon is standing by with the marketplace. Many thanks for your company.